You know, it's interesting because we got all these theories. I don't know why we put up with getting data and facts if we just gonna sit here and talk about how we feel. So, you know, maybe we can inject some facts into these feelings. I'm not really sure. But as somebody who has actually practiced criminal defense, I don't know if there's anybody else in here who has, I can tell you that I have handled thousands of cases, not hundreds of cases, thousands on the state level in Texas, Arkansas, and the federal level. And I can tell you that, you know what? If I had to look at the vast majority of the cases that I was representing criminal defendants on, the vast majority of them just didn't happen to be immigrants. These are just the facts of my experience, and maybe the immigrants went to somebody else. I don't know, but I can tell you in my actual experience, in real life, in reality, and not in this fallacy world that y'all are making up where you hate on everybody. So my Republican colleagues are here using today to continue pushing this false narrative of sanctuary cities harboring criminals, yet right here in DC, we have a 34-count felon being harbored in the White House. The hypocrisy coming from your side of the aisle over concerns regarding lawlessness is outrageous. Right now, House Republicans are conducting town halls with constituents lying about our legal system. That, quote, there is no due process if you come here illegally because you violated the law. That immigrants, quote, are not entitled to due process. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that. We all want to live in a country where we respect the law. So I'm a bit surprised that Republicans aren't up in arms with Trump detaining and deporting U.S. citizens and people who are lawfully present here in the United States. What Trump and ICE are doing is a disgrace, and it's all being done without respect for our laws. For example, Mr. Neri Alvarado, a Dallas-based baker, was arrested and deported to El Salvador prison for having an autism awareness tattoo in honor of his 15-year-old autistic brother. This was done despite never having been to El Salvador, despite having no gang affiliation, and despite having no organized crime connection. He was deported because ICE agents have been detaining, quote, all Venezuelans with tattoos. And to be clear, this type of racial profiling isn't just a one-off. In fact, the ACLU, using DHS's own data, mind you, found that at least 65% of the states and local agencies voluntarily working with ICE have records of racial profiling and civil rights violations. Mr. Franklin, first of all, and Sheriff, let me thank you for your service too, because I appreciate law enforcement. I just want to put that out there. But Mr. Franklin, Major Franklin, you're a decorated law enforcement officer. Yes or no, in your experience, does racially profiling people make communities safer?
No.
And yes or no, does ICE forcing state or local law enforcement to detain people make communities safer?
No.
You know, it's interesting because we've already, and we're gonna, you know, do Groundhog's Day a couple of times, seemingly here. Actually, let me give you the facts real quick before I go to that. In fact, a report for the American Immigration Council found that cities that didn't enforce ICE detainers have 35.5% lower crime rates, 2.3% lower poverty rates, and relied less on public assistance, including 4.9% less for children under 18. And I do want to be clear right now, ICE is trying to work with the IRS because we actually take in billions of dollars because of immigrants in this country, and now they're gonna try to get them out. And I'm gonna tell you that the biggest issue that we have, I really don't think this should be a partisan issue, so I'm going to agree with my Republican colleagues. I think that we all should want to be safe in our communities. The problem that we have is that we have an incompetent administration, that everything that they touch turns to shit. Because what they do is they take a wide sweeping brush and they have decided that the enemy is now going to be immigrants instead of taking a scalpel. That's all we're asking, is to be exact in what you're doing instead of taking a sledgehammer to everything. I don't really know what to say, except for the fact that this is a farce, all right? Because the fact is, we've got an increase in crime all over. If we really want to be real about it, let's talk about it. We're talking about DC right now, but the murder rates in red states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama have statistically exceeded those in blue states like Illinois, New Mexico, and Michigan every year since 2000. But since my colleagues feel the need to meddle in local affairs of D.C., then let's look at where there might be issues. To be clear, D.C. doesn't control most of its own post-arrest criminal justice system. Instead, the federal government administers most of it. So I have a few questions, yes or no, for you, Mayor Bowser. The federal government, not D.C., has the authority to prosecute nearly all crimes committed by adults under D.C. law.
That's correct.
The federal government appoints judges to the local D.C. courts.
That's correct.
The federal government has jurisdiction over community supervision and adults charged or convicted of D.C. crimes.
That's correct.
The federal government has jurisdiction over the incarceration of adults convicted of felonies under D.C. law.
Correct.
Lastly, Mayor Bowser, isn't the federal government responsible for parole and supervised release of people convicted of felonies under D.C. law?
Yes.
Thank you. The fact is, my Republican colleagues want to talk about keeping D.C. streets crime-free. They can't even keep the halls of Congress crime-free, because we gonna talk about this, because I got 24 seconds. My freshman colleague has just been indicted on 13 felony counts, right? But have they exhibited any courage to say, you know what, we will disallow this in our body. We will make sure that we expel this individual. They have not. So what I don't want to hear is that they care about crime, because if they did, they would start by cleaning up our own house and mind our own business instead of coming after DC.
Before leaving the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe bell and hit the like bell. It helps the channel grow. Thank you.